Welcome to a new and exciting episode of the Weekly Wowos, and a very happy new year. I think happy new month will be more relevant because the guys are doing Weekly Wowos live to you from Morocco. But happy new month. The first time we're doing Weekly Wowos right from our production studio here in Kampala. But I would like to welcome you to another interesting year. I hope 2006 is everything that we ever want. Maybe this is the time you'll sing that Azawi song for real. My year. But welcome to Weekly Wowos. My name is Dennis Musali, your weekly host, and I'm privileged to have Joseph Man Muhomuza, our resident rugby expert, and Franklin Kawowo, who's our editor here at Kawowo Sports. Gentlemen, Happy New Year for those of us who stayed here.
Happy New Year to you too. But for me, I would like to wish, first of all, Kyle a Happy New Year. I hadn't seen him in a long while.
Yeah.
And
Kyle, first of all, the guys didn't do a poor job on the show in Morocco. They were
fantastic. I was enjoying all the content they were putting out. But Kyle, while you are away, there was a petition here to kick you off the show. And it was championed by Frank. So when Kyle comes here, I hope he doesn't have any kind words for you.
There's a reason why he's around for today.
We shall find out later from Kyle, who was down with the team in Morocco. They will be bringing us details of how things happened off the pitch, mostly because I think the guys did a very good job bringing you everything and how things happened for not just the Uganda Cranes, but Senegal, the eventual winners of the tournament, the look and feel of Morocco. I'm hoping Fred will find that there's a video they made of that sort of summarize the whole Morocco experience, and when Kyle comes here, maybe we'll have a look at it. But it was wonderful stuff done by the Kawowo Sports team, especially the football guys who are down in Morocco. But just to start off things as we warm up when Kyle comes back later, let me start with Joseph. What are you starting with this week?
Not only starting this week, but starting the whole year. Obviously from the world of rugby, last year, Pirates won the league. They won the Uganda Cup. Walukuba won the Sevens, and Heathens, who had won everything in 2024, were trophyless. They didn't win anything. Maybe a few circuits here and there, but those are not major trophies. But to make sure that doesn't happen again, they have gone shopping, like full-on shopping. I don't even have enough fingers to count how many players they have signed so far, just this window alone. The players they have signed, the players they have recalled from loan, and the players that they have promoted from their ranks. So that is my starter for the year. Heathens are trying to get back on top.
I was a bit surprised that Man wasn't signed by Heathens because he says could probably work in their park.
If you cut him, Man, I think his blood flows impis, so there was no way they were ever going to sign him. But that rugby conversation coming up because their season starts this weekend. So Man is going to break down who is in, who is out, and who are the favorites for the season as well later on. Franklin, what are you starting with?
Let me start with basketball. I think there are very many things that I want to start with, but let me start with basketball. And I'm going to be starting with negative energy, if I may call it that. This month, the federation is quiet about anything Silverbacks. It's barely 3 weeks to the
apart from the new coach, no?
Yes, it is barely 3 weeks to the tournament, to the first leg of the qualifiers, and nobody has an idea of what the Silverbacks are going to look like, or if they are going to even, compete or participate. Because at this point, really, you should be knowing that the team probably has been summoned, or there is anything, but it is too quiet. I'm pretty sure Coach Mande Juni has the same information as I have. Because at this point you'd think the team should either be out or the players have been informed or something like that. But at this point...
This is a return leg of something they did last year, right?
No. It is just another window of the qualifier, but this Uganda is playing their first leg. So some teams played last year, and then some teams are playing this month for their first leg.
Okay.
And so being that quiet, especially at a time when you think there is noise of course, the federation bidding to host the second leg at Hoima and all that, but 3 weeks to the tournament and it is so quiet.
Yeah.
It's quite not a good way to start a year, surely.
Yeah, I think things have been very, very slow at the beginning of the year, and I will speak as an admin, so I think a lot of people.
The man has gone on defensive mode already.
You see, I think one of the things I've appreciated about me being in the position that I am now is that now you sit on, you've been to both sides of the table, so you're more grounded in your understanding of things. On one end, you could be very on the extreme, and then on the other side, sometimes you're on the extreme. But when you're on both sides, you sort of understand where the guys are coming from. But I think my startup for the week for me is cricket. Everyone has chosen their favorite. The Ladies Elite League, kicking off the season for Cricket Uganda this year. Very, very exciting cricket for me, and because it wasn't the performances. Okay, there were performances really from the usual suspects, but there were some performances from girls that we've just never seen before. Young girls like Ruth Mwanga, we saw Rashidati Kawowo doing very well. So most times it becomes very monotonous when you're hearing the same people, Janet Mbabazi, and so because those are very good players. But now when you hear the younger players showing up, Ruth Namiro, so when you hear the new upcoming names making an effort and doing very, very well, I think for me that shows that there are people who are going to push the envelope, especially there's been this cry that there are so many players on the team who sort of bought plots of land on the team and there's no one pushing them. But when you see some new exciting talent coming up, I think even the other girls start getting worried. They're like, maybe I'm a tenant here, not a landlady. So I was really very, very, very happy when I saw some of the younger girls, some of the new young upcoming girls doing very well.
Yeah. The thing with Dennis talks about it. The thing with women's cricket is that I think that it has had so many constants over the past few years with literally not a lot of change happening within the squad, because you'd think there is some sort of development gap in terms of, because ideally in sport is that if you want somebody to get out, you have to put your hand up for you to push them out. They just can't step away if you not match that level. And when you see girls stepping up like this in a tournament where they are playing against the people who they want to move, I think it is something exciting for the sport.
And you see, also in rugby, that issue was almost there, where you would find that most of the players who are playing in the evenings of their career, but simply because there is no one who is coming to push them out of the sport, they stay in and then they play. For example, Winnie Atiang, a Thunderbirds legend and Uganda national team legend, was forced out by her own twin daughters who have now got into the sport, and now they are very successfully playing, one in the park and then another in the line. So maybe it's a general thing with women's sports.
Yeah, I think it's also something that probably sport has to get used to, that people have to move on. People have to move on, but they don't need to be pushed out. They need to. There has to be able replacements to fill those gaps. I think that's really the advantage of the Elite League. That tournament having 3 teams, the Tana Kayakers winning it. Karoma Rapids were on fire. They had 1-3 on a bounce, but they lost in the final. But Rita Msamali was scoring a century. She clearly showing her class that she's still
that doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't happen, especially in women's cricket and in T20. So I think the whole experience was a very good one. And starting tomorrow, the men will be in action as well. Of course, a lot of people are more biased towards men's cricket. But as a father of daughters, I'm more biased towards the women.
What about as an administrator?
I think globally, by our standards, Uganda, I think the path to women's glory is a little bit easier. I mean, for smaller federations or for lower federations like ours, and that is across, whether it is basketball, rugby, talk cricket and all that. I think the path to women's success at the global stage is a little bit easier than the men, because many sport is extremely competitive because almost every other country competes at a certain level, and the amount of hurdles that you have to go over to get to the top, I think, are a little higher in.
I think as an administrator, to answer Joseph, I will advocate for what is done for the men is done for the girls, so that there's an equal playing field. Things like equal pay, those small things that can be done. So hopefully that, as an admin, I'll just tell you there's a bit of a gap between what the men and the women earn, but I'll continue advocating to make sure the pay is equal. At least the allowances are equal, but the pay, there's still a very big gap between.
By the time your daughters get there,
it is. Okay. And they can bring a Kavera back home.
As Summer says that what is good for the goose is good for the Baganda.
Anyway, to switch up the conversation, let's start with the rugby conversation. A big season coming up. I think rugby was the first sport to release their annual calendar. But there are a lot of activities happening this year. Maybe let's start with the calendar before we go into the wider conversation. What's coming up for the rugby teams, the rugby cranes, the lady rugby cranes, before we dive into the club competitions?
Obviously, the Uganda Rugby Union released a very long calendar for the 2026 season. But first, for the 2025 season, we made an assessment at Kawowo of how the Uganda Rugby Union performed in 2025, just by looking at the activities that they said they would do, the things they did, the things they ticked boxes on, just to be polite, and the things they totally didn't do. So it's exciting to see the calendar come out, but on the other hand, you have to be skeptical and say, yes, they're releasing all these things, but are they actually going to do them? But just a highlight of it, obviously there is the league, that is the 15th league, there is the 7s, and then there is the Uganda Cup. But in between there, they have announced the Enterprise Cup, which has been sort of a rumor, but now they have officially put it in the calendar. The Enterprise Cup, that is going to be played between Ugandan teams and Kenyan teams, 4 teams from either side. They begin at the quarter-final stage, then semi-final and final. There is the Tunisia tests that we have been waiting for since 2023. They were supposed to be played last year. They didn't play them, but they're going to play them this year. Then there is the Victoria Cup in there with the Uganda versus Kenya game, the return game being the Elgon Cup League 2. There is obviously the 7s in there. There is the Rugby Africa Women's Cup for women 15s. Uganda got promoted last year, and then when they went to Madagascar, they beat the hosts Madagascar, and obviously lost to South Africa. But then unfortunately we are not yet ready to play Kenya, but we are going to be playing in that competition this year as well. There are very many competitions. Of course, the Rugby Africa men's 7s is also there, but from the men's 7 side, they didn't qualify to play for the HSBC. Which has been restructured now. It has now 3 divisions. The first division has 8 teams.
It's being played in Kenya. I saw.
Yes,
I've been reading stuff
Division 2.
Some of it will be in Kenya.
Yes, Division 2 is going to be played in Kenya with teams like USA, Canada, Uruguay. So it's a very competitive tournament. Thank God we are not there, because
I was thinking
the
opposite, that
Kenya itself
that we've sort of missed out. There'll be so many people traveling to go and support for the guys.
No, we haven't really missed out on
it
because we are not there.
As fans, we missed out. But as the national team, I think it saves us embarrassment.
Okay. You guys, where is your patriotism?
We are quite patriotic, but you want to believe that. I mean, as they usually say, there are levels to sport, and I think Uganda over the last year or 2 have gone a touch down from where they were during that dominant spell of 3-4 years. That core that Coach Tolly had developed. I think the moment they went off, and it is now a new rebuilding sort of process, and we are not there yet.
Okay.
Actually, when we were watching the Safari 7s last year, I think Franklin could feel the pain in the words that I was writing. for that Uganda performance when they were playing at the Safari Sevens. That was that weekend of October in 2025. You could tell that this is a team, yes, it is in a rebuild, but you can rebuild without breaking down all the walls.
Yeah.
You can, yes, you've already gotten a starting point, so start somewhere. Just don't start from zero. It was
sort of stopped the bus, got everyone off, and then
and then just got new people and started from there. But yeah, nothing much exciting in the sevens, because also the women are not going to be playing in the Challenger Series, which started last year in December in Dubai for the Division 3. What is going to be happening in Kenya is the Division 2. There is a Kenya and then Cape Town League. And then the Division 1 is the one for the cream de la cream, where you find the Blitz Box, the South Africans, and other competitive sides. Obviously, Kenya dropped down from the Division 1. Who are, because of the restructuring, now they're playing in Division 2 at home, both the Lionesses and the Shujaa. Unfortunately, Uganda didn't get that spot. That spot was taken by South Africa because Kenya was already in. And that's how they also won the hosting bid. And then Uganda had to reach that final. They had to reach that final and win it if they had to qualify as the second African team, which they didn't do. South Africa went on to win the tournament, and that's why they are in.
Okay, all right. A lot of exciting stuff there for from the Uganda Rugby Union calendar for 2026. But now diving into the conversation about the clubs, I think Heathens have been the most active. There have been movements at COBS, got new leadership in terms of executive and all. So even Impis, the man who had that famous Watch Kawowo Nyombi is now in charge. I don't know if he can still do it as chairman. Nyombi is now in charge. There have been a lot. The transfer, I think, the transfers, I've liked them because they've been very, very visible, trying to show who's moving where and going where. But I think let's start, I don't know whether we start with Heathens or we break down everything together. There's been rumor of a goat moving from one district to another. Hasn't been confirmed yet. But let's start with Heathens. They've laid down the marker with what Franklin said. A lot of new players getting into the team there.
Yes, the Uganda Rugby Union announced a new system of transfers. You realize that now there is going to be a mid-season transfer window, which I don't support because of other reasons. Then there is also also in the things that they have announced, a player can now play the 15s league for Heathens and then go out on loan and play sevens for another club, which I think is very foolish. I'm sorry, which I think is very foolish because we know those teams that are really good 15s teams, and we know those teams that are really good 17s. Now, if a player can just move and say, now I'm playing 15s for Heathens, now I'm going to play 15s for Walukuba.
Stronger 15s team, then sevens for
stronger sevens team, which is... But anyway, so Heathens made very good signings. They had, they had those issues that they had last year. And I feel like all the signings they have made, they haven't yet addressed some of the core issues. For example, if you're going to win a 15s game, first of all, you know how you should have your set piece. You should be able to scrummage. We saw in the Uganda Cup final, Moses Kotoloch was pushed to prop. And we also how they suffered. But in this final, Heathens hasn't really gone out in the market for the props. They have brought in only one prop. Yusuf Waiswa, who was at Ginger Hippos, then moved to Eagles for a loan, and now he's with Heathens. They've also brought in, but in terms of strengthening their pack, they've brought in David Wako as well. David Wako is a very good eighth man for the Ginger Hippos. About 5 years ago, you'd see him also playing a little bit of sevens here and there. But recently, in the Uganda Cup, he was playing as a prop as well, which, to my understanding, can't cut it in the big leagues if you can't move from the front row to the back row just like that. You'll never be as effective as you are. And as we have mentioned, when Scott moved from the back row to the front row, we also what happened. If you bring in David Wako, you make sure that he's going to be your starting eighth man in a team that, again, for the last time, Scott Olosh has been an eighth man there, but past his prime. Of course, Michael Okorach, now retired, who was also filling in a little bit at 8th man from center. But they have very good players like Vania Deboa, very young man, strong. He's an under-20 international, and he hasn't really got his time to sort of fit in that 8th man position. But they've also brought in Jude Joko, who is predominantly a back row, but he has been forced to play hooker here and there because, where the game is going, you need a back row who is also able to jump. Jude doesn't have that height to sort of jump in the line out, so they have been trying to transition him to that hooker position, which he has played for Uganda as well, I think in 2024. But for their back row, I think their problems are half solved because they also bring in Jason Nwamanya, who is he's a back row, he's a flanker, but he's also a winger, he's also a center. They have really brought in very many utility players, but when you go to that center position, at least they've brought in a specialist, Emmanuel Odoi, young man, very good. I think we were talking a lot about him during that Ginger Hippos run to the final last year, because he was playing that center position very well alongside Silva Kenyi, who is also leaving Ginger Hippos, unfortunately. And that is a young man who came in at a time when the experienced Taufik Bagalena had gone to the UK for a short stint, and then Emmanuel Odoi came in straight from Ginger SS, played a few games with the Kira Crocs, which is the second side of the Hippos, and just jumped right in and it felt like he belonged, like he had been there his whole entire life for such a young man. And now when he comes into that Heathens team, he comes into a team where Innocent Gokto has just come off surgery. Michael Amolo is confusing. You don't know whether he's a winger. You don't know whether he's a center. Trevor Ochan is the only mainstay in that midfield whom you can say he puts on that shirt 12 very well. But when Emma Odoi comes in, at least he can fill in that 13 position where Innocent Gokto hasn't been. And then they've also been pushing their captain, that is the newly elected club captain, Sexton, Norbert Sexton. Okay. They've been pushing him to play that center position, but his more natural position is at the wing. So at least now you can say that that center problem has almost been solved. And then what is now remaining is for the rugby to begin, because they've brought in all the players that they wanted. We also see at number 9, they recalled Matthew Musasizi from Impis. He was a Heathens player, came to Impis to learn rugby, and has gone back to teach them. And teach them he's going to do, because in these trial games that they've been playing, Matthew has been playing alongside Malcolm Okello. They've been playing them as 9 and 10, a position that you think Heathens has been gambling a lot with in these past few games, especially the Uganda Cup, where they've been playing Nicholas Kato as the most natural 9, and then Mavina Shaba came in towards the end, and he had sort of improved that position, because in my books, Mavina Shaba is a great improvement from the 40-something-year-old Faizo Gama. Because 9 have I knocked tambuzo mpira, chap tambuzo, which Faizo can do. But for the last 10 minutes of the game, when you bring him in and then say Heathens is now going to play that Heathens rugby of bang bang, Faizo can pull on those phases for you, but he's not going to give you that for the first 60 minutes or so. So they bring in Matthew to sort of improve that. Then Malcolm Okello came back from the US. He's now going to play at least 10 or 15. But we all feel like at 15, Joseph Oyet Ojo has locked down that position. He was also a cricketer, by the way, and I think that explains the good hands that he has.
Exactly.
Very comfortable under the high ball, and very exciting player. But now the other question that one would ask when Aaron Ufoidoth comes back, is he playing 9? Is he playing 10? Franklin, where do you prefer him?
I was going to...
No, Franklin is a big fan. Tell us why you prefer him.
I asked the questions here. And Joseph, I think my question is before, just hold your thought before I come to Franklin. You mentioned a lot of people coming out of Hippos. Hippos, they go all over Womi, but you answer that after Franklin. Franklin, one of the strengths last season for Pirates was really their squad. They had Magomo goes out and then someone else comes in, you're like, Banangi. In terms of how Heathens have beefed up their squad, can they really match? Because last year Heathens in 15s were the standard.
Yeah.
Can they push the Pirates this year?
To start with, I think I'll start from the technical side. I think getting in Coach Tolly, that is a bit of...
Coach Toba, this is going to be his first full season.
Yes, I think that is some leveling up. Are you asking who is better?
No, if you're talking about in terms of...
No, I just said, I mean, Coach Tolly has international experience, but it has been in the sevens. But again, having him on is leveling up. Of course, Marvin has been learning in the job when he came in for Coach Bobby Msinguzi. But here is what I want to say. When you level up from the technical bench to start with, and now, because this is the full season, he starts getting in the players that he needs to work for his structure. I think that is that explains the kind of signings that Heathens have been making. I don't think Coach Tolly is one who you just buy for players without him approving. And I want to build that all the players that have been signed by Heathens are players that he has approved, and he knows how he's going to fit them into the team and to try and deliver. Obviously, everybody at Heathens wants to be at the top every other time. And to be honest, I think they are going to be very competitive. When you have a huge squad like that, you very well know that it is going to be blood competing for spots in that team. And one of the coaches that I know for sure in our country who rewards hard work is Coach Tolly. But if you don't work, you're not going to play. I mean, it doesn't matter your profile, and that people did not know that, but that's the reason why Aaron Ofoiroth didn't play much of the sevens last season, because he was not putting in the work. And Tolly was like, the guys who train are the guys who are going to play. You're not going to play best of the name that I've made in the past. And this is a guy who Coach Tolbert had been using throughout the sevens on the national team and all that. But when it comes to work, you have to put in the work for you to be rewarded. And I want to do that. Heathens have leveled up really, really well.
All right. Joseph, just to answer that, Hippos. I mean, I think they've pulled so many players out of that team. Shall we have a Hippos side this year?
Yeah,
okay, we may have a side, but you know the Hippos where you go to dam waters and you're already shaking.
No. No. And just to start with, this very weekend, the Mighty Makere Imps traveled to Ginger. And they beat the Hippos. Not like we don't beat them every other time. But I don't want to use Impis as a standard because they beat the Hippos, which they did, by the way, comfortably. It happened. But yes, the Hippos are not going to be as competitive as they were last season. They've already lost a number of players. Just save for the ones that have even gone to Heathens.
Off-field issues have followed them on the field, right?
Now, even the ones who have gone to Heathens aside, they've also lost their number 10, Yasin Waswa, Brighton Bakasa has left. He has gone to Kakira Simbas. Obviously, some other players are going to join Storm Rugby. And I think it is a very huge blow that whatever has been happening off the pitch is now following them onto the pitch. Because when they were going into that final of the league, I remember there was a famous clip of Aziz Bagalana sort of talking, let us use the word talking to the club, one of the club founders, and not very kind words that he said to him, and we are seeing it happen. He told him that you want to destroy this club, and it is happening indeed. And I think that funnel from Hippos to Heathens is just the natural flow of things. If Franklin, will you defend me? Yes, we should prepare our legal fees because anyway. So that funnel from Ginger Hippos to Heathens is sort of like a natural flow, because when you find that the union has installed a president that they can work with at the Ginger Hippos, and then, and all those other things, just follow the flow. And that is what is happening right now.
The man
But-
doesn't want to say the fact that
He's going
But
through
club,
corners.
yeah, we do.
He's a Chadondo
He's going
guy.
through corners. For the Hippos, I think it's going to be another.
It's going to be
a very
tough
long
year,
season.
a
A very
tough
long
year.
season.
I think
I
if
think
you
we won't
want
be
to
surprised if they
see,
don't show up for some games.
yeah, if you want to see the Mbale Wolves this season, watch out for Ginger Hippos. They are going to be beaten. They're going to be beaten.
For the Heathens.
And you were earlier talking about the Pirates, but they haven't done a lot of business right now. As it turns out, they are not as liquid as they want the world to think. With all their 500 sponsors, they don't have the pool right now
The
to
man
bring in the
Speaking
players.
the Pirates
But-
conversation I wanted us to have. There's been a rumor that one of their goats
Your namesake.
is the moving town. Is that true? How true is that rumor? There's never
So-
seen
Should
that
I
part.
answer it or you should?
No, please go ahead.
No, answer.
So,
Since you know more
from-
about Pirates.
So from the Pirates end, they can neither deny nor confirm. But from the Cobs side, about a week or two ago, when that conversation was happening online, we reached out to them and they could confirm that they have made the request. But it seems people at Woyoge, they don't have data of VPNs because they weren't replying the emails. But the emails had been sent about 2 weeks ago. And then what the major development that happened in between there was that now the Cobs went on to elect a new leadership which came in, and I think that leadership decided to go in a different direction, and I can confirm that now that transfer is totally off. It's not going to happen, although it would have been the best move for the player, because I feel like he hasn't been, despite his bad manners, I feel like he hasn't been protected enough by his club. And that is, you always need your club to have your back whenever you're coming up against such things, because it is actually a big club that has a say, that can stand up for its player and do something about it. But yeah, that move isn't happening.
Is it about the player himself, his loyalty to the club, or maybe the other guys didn't want you that much?
No, it is his loyalty to the club, because first of all, he has been a Pirates player since his high school. When he was at SMAC, he had already joined Pirates, and obviously when he went to Hana, you would think that now Hana is a Chadondo, affiliated. He would do that, but then he didn't, and then he went to Namilyango. You'd think that naturally from Namilyango you go to Cobs, and that didn't happen. So he's clearly a Pirates player. His heart is at Pirates. But the move would have been good for him, yes. But also, you ask yourself, does the player want to leave? Because, for example, some people equate Pirates to a cult. Once you join, you don't leave. When you see the number of players that they have, when you see that Sailors side, you realize that Sailors has about 100 kids and only 4 or 5 get to break out any other given season. And that's why you find that the Pirates side has a serious depth. Even when they are not buying a lot, they have that depth. So the player staying at Pirates, it's understandable, but also the move would have been understandable maybe if at all leadership hadn't changed at Cobs, because I don't think the new leadership fancies him that much. And this is a move that they have attempted to make before, and it didn't happen. So it's not happening again. However, Cobs has also brought in some players, but the major one is that player that is going to cover that 15 position, that is Mark William Lukwago. Cobs has been playing with Ibrahim Kemis at 15. One would say that although they are both young men, for example, Kemis and Karim United, they are both young men, but you can tell that Karim is the more mature of the two in terms of rugby development and whatnot. So when Lukwago comes in to play in that 15 position, you would think that now Karim will settle at the wing. Since he's also a good finisher, he settles at the wing. And then Kemis either comes in to finish the game or to fill in some other different role. But that is a very good sign.
Can give some cover at 10 as well.
Yes.
Okay. Franklin, I had to ask about the newly promoted teams, Ihimpis and Kakira. Should we expect anything from them? Just try to push the envelope. I didn't want to ask Man about Ihimpis, but can they stay up? I think that should be the question.
And I mean, first of all, I think one of the things Joseph has to admit is that they lost their best player, at least. So from the creative point of view, they are going to kind of start from scratch. And look, you don't want to start from scratch when you're playing against seasoned players at that. Are they going to compete? Again, this kind of league that we have in rugby is, do you get into the playoffs or you don't? Can Imps get in? I mean, they can squeeze past 2 teams for sure.
Two teams.
Do you know the teams that you'll be? One of them is Hippos, and one of them is Kakra Simbas that you beat in the playoffs. Now, I don't
Warriors?
think I don't think you have enough to beat the rest of the teams, because it might come down to one of the things that you have to is playing Warriors when it is a relegation battle. Definitely, that one you're going to lose it, whichever way. But again, it's not that Warriors want to be in the relegation battle every other season. I think if anything, they are going to compete against Kakira and Hippos, who I see as the teams that are going to be quite underwhelming this season.
No.
And you see, what's interesting is that on that opening weekend, while Kakira will be playing Heathens, Impis will be playing the Warriors in what is almost a relegation battle, because
6-pointer.
yes. And now, speaking purely as a fan, I'm glad that Impis is playing Warriors at this stage of the league at the beginning. If you find Warriors at the end, remember when Warriors needed to finish in 9th so that they get a weaker 12th team? Warriors went and beat Mongas in Entebbe. Now, that is the Warriors you don't want to play when they are in trouble. They are very lethal when they are in trouble. But here at the beginning, they can afford to slack, and that is why they are going to be punished.
All right, as we finish this rugby conversation, Joseph, talk about the midfield. We've spoken about the guys at the top, but the midfield teams like Mongas, Rhinos, the Buffaloes. What are some of their? What are the chances of them shaking the table that has some very expensive drinks?
I don't think Buffaloes are going to shake the table that much. Obviously, Rhinos are now comfortable being in that, in that mid-table. Yes, and then Warriors, Among Us had slipped out of that mid-table when they were fighting relegation last season, and they managed to survive that relegation scare.
I haven't mentioned Waluku and Buffaloes plus the Rhinos themselves. They're very, very good. Okay, maybe Sevens is a different monster, but were really very good in Sevens, and you're hoping that maybe they can just do a few things for them to be that good as well in 15.
And now you find that the Walukuba Barbarians have lost some players. Some players of Kenyan descent went back home. Then some players have also gone home in Entebbe. Franklin knows for whatever reasons. Franklin, maybe you'd like to share why some players have gone to Entebbe and some players have gone back to Kenya. But they really have to improve. And I talked to Coach Leo sometime last year towards the end, and he was talking about bringing in some of those players to fill in the gaps because they were
from having a very successful 7th season.
Well, even the core of the Sevens that they were using, those are players who have grown up together, worked together for the past 3-5 years, and there was also talks of Ivan Bulima going to Pirates. Obanga agenda kuzanya, who knows? Because at Pirates you already have a Haruna Muhammad who is a 15. When he's not around, you have a Chisiga who is a 15. You have Abata in our agenda kuzanya. But yes, I think Walukuba is going to really suffer this season. I think Buffaloes is going to be very stable because the players that they had, they have maintained them. They haven't lost any players, and then they have brought in a very good number 10. That is Yasin Waswa, who can also cover 15. Then they have also brought in Owen Mugogo. He was a Hippos player as well, but then he went to South Africa for rugby development, and now he's back. He's going to be playing in that center for. He's going to be playing in that center for the Buffaloes alongside Kennedy Muhumu, is a very good player. Then, of course, their pack has always been solid. They have some very good young boys in there. So I feel like Buffalo's top 4, yes, maybe even in a quarter-final here and there. In the semi-final, because now Hippos has obviously left a gap in that semi-final, and Buffaloes is the only team to, to sort of come in and fill in that gap. Now, problems will come when Heathens finishes 4th and Buffaloes finishes 5th. Buffaloes can never beat Heathens on any day. Never. when it's business, never.
But the good thing is that Higgins is not going to finish fourth anyway. You expect them to be second or first. But when you talk to Coach Leo about all these departures at Walukuba, he seems quite confident in the young boys that has pulled from Ginger SS, and he says they are going to be very ready by mid-season. So I'm kind of finding it challenging to either believe Joseph here, who says Walukuba is going to suffer, or the coach who says they are going to be just fine.
I think let's believe the coach. That's a rugby conversation. Rugby starts this week with the first with the 15th season opening up in different places in Uganda.
The biggest is at Kings Park.
Yes,
at the Kings Park Arena, the Cobs are going to be playing the Pirates in the opening game of the weekend. And yes, it's a very interesting fixture. Something that is yes.
Is it at
now?
the graveyard?
Yes, it's at the graveyard, and that's a very beautiful contrast, because at one end you have people who are fighting for the trophy, and then people who are fighting for survival. Because
on the first day of the season,
on the first day of the season, you have to make
down the drain.
he knows.
Now, if you're being realistic, Impis has to go into this season looking for about 5 games to win if they want to be in that top 8. They do what Walukuba did, just get into the top 8, show up and realize that maybe that was a big of a chunk for you to bite and walk off the pitch in the quarterfinal. But yes, at the Kings Park Arena there is the Pirates versus the Cobs, and for any rugby fan, when one wants to get into rugby, it's advisable that this season you leave your house quite early in the morning, because there are going to be those first games of Pirates 2 versus Cobs 2, and those are actually very competitive games, because these squads are actually very big, so they can afford to field 23 here and 23 there. The way you've been seeing those games by the Heathens, when they have split their team into 2, played each other, played other teams. So teams with depth, those first games are very important for you to watch, because that is where the actual talent is. Those are the people who actually train every training day. And then the one Franklin, a club goat, just comes in and says, "Coach, I feel like I can play," and he plays.
Big is big.
But yes, but also the women's games are going to be starting this very weekend. So there is that Pulse game at 2 p.m. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting season.
Yeah, I think we'll give some airtime to the ladies next week when we come back for the weekly Wowos. But that's a rugby conversation. Depending on where you are, whether you'll be at the graveyard or you'll be at Kings Park, make sure you keep it Kawowo Sports, because we'll bring you all the details and how things go down that same weekend. Joseph Man Muhumuza with all the details from everything that is going to be happening in the rugby. So now we'll switch up the conversations very, very quickly, and then talk about the basketball season as well. Tipping off is the right word. I was about to say bowling off because I'm used to cricket. The basketball season tipping off this Friday. But a lot of activity has also been happening in basketball. There's a lot of juice in the transfers for basketball and rugby, which is unlike in cricket. You sort of cricket, we just wait for whoever shows up, we continue with that.
You can sign even for one game.
But I think City Oilers clearly hurt by what happened last year, and then they've broken the bank to make sure they bring in new players. But before we go into that basketball conversation, we should be playing Welcome to Morocco. The man just touched down from Morocco. But Kyle, welcome. Thank you for joining us. A pleasure to have you. Thank you for holding it down with the team in Morocco. I saw you were trying to take my job when you were in Morocco, but clearly I'm still in charge.
Yeah, it was quite a huge assignment, I can tell you, but the team was well motivated. Apart from the rain and coldness, we enjoyed our time there. Kudos to the man himself who made it possible, but also for everyone that gave us a good time. We completed the month without arguing, no fights, no nothing. It was only good vibes, a team that was ready to put their hands together to see that they pull off the job, and I'm glad we came back. in full spirit. Tewali yabulirayo.
Kawowo is a nice place to work, not so?
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, maybe before we get to the basketball, as perspective, one as a journalist, what sort of experience do you have from Morocco? Things that we can learn, especially that in a year's time we shall also be hosting the AFCON. And also, maybe as a fan, what are some of the things that you saw that, could, and we extensively covered the AFCON, the Chan tournament in Uganda, but some things that you saw, we shall not talk about the football because you guys gave us everything of that, but some of that stuff, the experience as a journalist in the media center and all, and then as fans, what are some of the things that you saw in Morocco that we could either pick a leaf or take the whole tree?
One, I don't think I can outline all of them because there are very many, but just to give a preamble, one, we are very many years behind, and that you can choose to believe or leave, but we are very many years behind. When you look at what those guys are doing down in Morocco, you feel they have a clear plan of what they want to be like and what they want to achieve. First of all, from the side of football, I and Fred and the other people got a chance to see the headquarters or where the Morocco team was based. That is Muhammad VI. It has more than 50 pitches. Pitches, I mean the playing ground. More than 50, where they have those that are natural grass, those that are hybrid. Now, they give you different environments if you're going to prepare for a full game. And that same place has hotels whereby the team has a liberty to be at a very comfortable place. And now that shows you how much that country is very organized.
Is that what we're trying to do with Chisasi? Because I remember the former president
mentioned you cannot put the two. Don't bring. Let's first leave the Chisasi.
Said they are going to put a football.
Yeah, but let's strongly leave the Chisasi just out of this thing because the other place is way. I think if you're going to compare the two, one is, if there is another word more than a village and then city, that maybe can paint a clear picture. Then when it comes to the side of the work that we do as journalists, I think East Africa and North Africa, I mean West Africa and North Africa, their journalists are way closer to the federations than some of us are. Because we got a certain scenario where we went to cover the last training of Uganda as they were going to play against Tanzania. Yes, we were a bit late because of traffic. One of our cars was stopped because of overspeeding and all that, and we were delayed a bit. But we could not access the stadium. We were not even allowed to take photos. But we are Ugandans, and the people chasing us are fellow Ugandans. And the people we are trying to give mileage are Ugandans. But you see, it was very different from countries like Senegal, Nigeria, Cameroon. You felt the federation and the journalists had quite a good bond, that those journalists would break stories early if a player has maybe stepped out, or if a player has lost someone, or if a player is facing a challenge. Like, news would flow easily. And then these journalists were allowed to have quality time with the players, so they could get more stories than just stories of this one is injured, this one is not injured. There were more personal stories. If you saw a story of Osimhen that ran on the BBC of where his life started from, the Nigerian reporter was able to get information from Osimhen as far as Osimhen being at 5 years, how Osimhen lost the parents, how he was able to pay school fees for the family members and all that. So it was just more than soccer. So for us, we didn't get the chance to get very close to those players. We would only see them in the mixed zone. If it is not mixed zone, maybe Paul Put is making a comment. If it is the last training, you're getting 15 minutes. So it does not give a real feel of you being countrymen and having that chance to be at the ground, which I think we can improve. And for these players, they need to tell their stories more than just what we see on the football pitch. Because when you look at a person like Aziz Kayondo, he needs to tell a story from where he came from.
That people
can
connect with him.
Yes, so that people have more
There's an
than just
emotional
what.
connection.
Yes, so I think FUFA, even though you have your people of FUFA TV, nafe tuba tuzize kukola. We can do better. We can do
But
better
I
when
think
it
our
comes to
sports
that.
were very, very friendly. I saw you guys making some content where the players were on the bus, and that looked personal.
Fred will tell you how that content was done. It was under a lot of security, in that some players had even to
Where does
just
this come from? Is it from from here, where the federation doesn't feel like maybe they have a good working relationship with the USPA?
no.
So you have people who are willing to tell more. There's always a bad story to tell, but I'm more inclined to tell the good one rather than I'm like, okay, I've seen them here, let me go with that one, rather than I saw them, things like that.
Fred, I think it's
Is it a case of the relationship has to be nurtured?
no, it's a case of society. You see, people don't want to be checked. Even here, if we're seated here and maybe someone told Kyle you've not combed, Kyle might see it from a wrong perspective, which I think is something of society. If a journalist is going to tell a story and it's coming from maybe fact checking, maybe saying this can be done better, I think it goes back to a point of saying, no, we can do things better, but we can also manage to say the truth in a better way, in a friendly way. It does not take away anything from you telling me, Kyle, if you put on a t-shirt on a Monday, you'll look more cool. Like, it might not be well with me, but with time, I get to know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So I think FUFA has to know that they are doing a job, but we are also doing a job. Yes, they are the cardinals of the game, or they are the ones that see it and plan for it. But also as journalists, we have a duty. And the country has belief in us that there is a way we see things better. And for me, that's what I think can be done. We can have that relationship whereby everyone respects the other from the office that they hold. Because, okay, for you, it is different. You might one day take the seat. But for me, it comes from a very distant position.
I want to take the whole tree, so I am picking lessons.
Yeah, so it comes from a very distant position that I will ever think of being a FUFA president. Yes, I've studied Famako and all that, but it's for knowledge and getting maybe to know the game better or having a different perspective. But I think we can have a better relationship with the guys at top of the game.
Okay. Then for the fans, anything you saw that was very appealing?
Yeah.
Was easy for the fans? Either it was easy into getting into the ground or things like that?
Yeah.
But you feel that a year later, maybe that is some of the stuff that we can be able to do for fans that will be traveling from all over the world to come and watch AFCON?
It's a problem to compare most of these things. I think one of our producers, Raymond, sits in a better position to have some of these explanations.
No.
Yeah,
But
he sits in a better position to have some of these conversations, because the way he talks about some of the things, it's more personal. For me, I feel.
For example, I'll tell you, when we went for the African Games still with the Kawowo sports team in Ghana, Ghana is not so far from us, but there was some small things that they were doing that you sort of pick on them and think that we can easily do. We cannot build a railway or 50 stadiums, but there were for example, tournament vehicles that could easily allow, if you had accreditation and all, you can just ask someone to drop you at the next place. So there were things that really made life very, very easy for people to get around.
Yeah,
and be able to follow the games.
I think we can pick some of those if you bring it down to the point of the simple things. But if we talk and try to paint the whole image, then all of a sudden it becomes so big and huge. But as a country, I think Morocco were prepared to organize. They didn't have to change a lot of things. They were prepared. The roads, the stadium, the hotels and everything, those were things put in place. Then also for the hospitality, I think it was something they kept reminding them. I don't know, because you would walk and everyone is smiling at you even before you wave and all that, because we had the perspective of maybe they might look at us. Apart from one incident where a child asked the parent, to talk to Issa Abide, and they test the texture of a black man. So Issa Abide had to pull the jacket, and the kid had to feel the skin of a black, and it was not from a bad perspective. Yeah, the kid was just wondering, yes, is it Dagala? So it was a friendly moment, and Issa Abide smiled it off. You know the man he is. Then for most of us, it was really friendly. The only time we got hardship was after the final. Everything changed. They were no longer smiling. The Cubs were not anywhere close to the system. It was very different. But along the tournament, it was friendly. You know, you could get to a shop and they're eager to help. Even with some of us who didn't have any Lufaransa.
Even up today you don't have. Who don't have.
No,
like
now there are things that have changed. Of course, we can now
say bonjour.
We can now juggle out a few things. So when we get back to hosting, I think it's something for us. It comes off natural. Ugandans, we are very welcoming. The ladies are always happy. The men are always eager to help. So it's going to be good times.
It's good times in a year's time when Uganda hosts.
Yeah, but maybe before we go on, landing here, I was welcomed by a few people, including my friends of table tennis. And I think going forward, it's going to be something that is going to be friendly to me. I've gotten... Last year, I became very close to basketball. Now this year, I'm adding on table tennis on the family. And over the weekend, we had a time where the people at UTTA sat with 30 coaches in a meeting while they were planning for the game. So 2026 is going to be a good time. If you have your kid and they're interested in a game, they should tighten their laces, because lots of plans are coming out of that meeting.
All right.
Can you hold a racket or a bat properly?
Yeah, it's a game I played at an early age, but it's not one that is very sustainable if you don't have a table at home.
One of my kids can be able to pick it up.
Yeah.
But that has been Kyle mentioning how his experience, talking to us about his experience.
Yeah, but in a special way, help us thank the big man. In a special way, some of us don't have the kind words, but he made our stay in Morocco.
No, big up
awesome.
to Mr. Joseph Owino. One day we'll bring him here. I think a lot of people don't know him, but Joseph Owino.
He played some football at the beach. I hope.
Do we have images? Video?
They're there.
Yeah, we have the pics, and
I hope they can appreciate him. You may have
the way he was doing the way he was sending the ball with outside the foot, you would think.
There's a Joseph Owen who plays for the Kenyan national team. I think sometimes they even confuse the two. But Joseph Owen
as well.
Thank you for giving the team a wonderful experience. As always, when they have an opportunity to travel and cover the AFCON. But well done to you guys. But now, just to bring it back a bit, and we're talking about the basketball. City Oilers, a lot of signings. For JKL, a lot of departures. JKL, I'll leave to Kyle, but Franklin, to start with City Oilers. Umgaga nyize.
Umgaga waniga and atante. They just want Chiwumba, but
City Oilers has brought back one of my favorite basketball players. The man I used to follow when I started following basketball. I used to like him. His basketball is not for fighting.
Laundry?
Laundry in the Kovana. Yeah.
Again, that is type of Rwandan basketball. It's first in the head before it gets into the hands and the legs. I think what the Oilers have done is what most expected after the season last year. We all know, everybody around basketball knows how competitive Muhammad Santul and Hassan are as managers. So just losing one final, that did not go down well, and obviously the words that followed from the fans and from the other side of the fence, you always thought they are going to really make some serious noise in trying to go back up. And I think one of their major major flaw in their game last year was big men in terms of because Chukura dominated. They are big men, and you thought one of the things they wanted to improve was how they play in the post, and bringing back Landry Ndikumana, who is good inside out, skilled on the ball, can pass, can shoot from outside, can take his position in the post and make plays. I think that was important, but also. Of course, they needed to play very good defense and bring in a defensive player like, from UCU. When people look at Kaira,
someone was talking about the natural progression in rugby of hippos to heathens. I think it is UCU
to stay Oilers.
City Oilers.
Or UCU to J2 and JK. Anyway, but when you look at Kaira and how he's going to fit in, a rising big man, it is hard to tell that.
Is Kaira leaving because he's done with university? Or?
Yes, he's graduating this year.
Okay.
That is being pretty much done, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's graduating this year, I think in July or something. That kind of gives to Oilers. We have always known that every other good player that shows out in Uganda, or a Ugandan player that shows out, is somehow going to end up at Stoke Oilers, and Kaira going there or being signed wasn't really surprising. But what that does is that it now gives Stoke Oilers good presence in.
It is surprising in the way that it happened. Because there was a lot that happened, and this man knows.
No,
would have been one of the people who helped move to happen.
This man. I'm not. Why are you linking me to Oilers?
You
No,
hear
because
from Franklin's lawyer.
In Mukono, we are not happy.
Why are you not
I
happy?
thought this would be like fight body moving on, it's natural progression of things.
Yeah.
The other was smooth.
No, initially, okay. If you want a bit of it, initially there was talk of Kaira doing the masters at UCU, but he kind of opted out. But also, usually players leave UCU when they have completely graduated. So the expectation from UCU was that he could be there this season. Of course, which is going to end in October and all that.
Yeah.
By the time you're graduating in April, you're still their player, then you can move on amicably. For Nick Nakwes and I think and the people around UCU is that it kind of came on a short notice that UCU did not prepare in getting in a replacement quite on time that is going to do, because from what I've been told is that Kaira played he played the university games, which ended I think on 23rd December, and everything seemed right that he was going to be there at UCU soon. And
Has
then
he burnt a bridge?
yes, I don't know. Nick is not one that holds grudges really. I mean, with the experience he has had over time, I don't think he's one that holds grudges. But he's okay. I think he's a young man who will go. Young people make mistakes and all that, but what wasn't the water and as a person, it messes with your head. While you have this sort of royalty and all that, but there's someone that messes with your head, and
it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
And you know, State Oilers are fond of doing that.
No, but just to come in, Nick is a person who prepares for the coming season in this season, so. He clearly knows where the team is going to change or what they're going to improve. So the player was in the coach's plans as being part of this season, because they knew and one of the teams that had come out seeking for the player's signature was JT. So they thought it could be the transition, and so they still had the player. And when you look at the players that they were talking to or they were planning to put into the team, that position was not a position they were literally looking at so much. And for a player like Kaira, the coach thought there are still things the player would improve. So
learn.
Yeah, so the player was still in that process. And the coach thought they are still working together to see that he's made a better player. So it was short notice, and then concluding it without informing the coach was something that didn't go right with the people in Mukono, because it's been that if you're going to leave, like there is that harmony where they let you off in a good way, so that you even get time to talk to the younger players, you get time to talk to the management, you get time to, so it's more of you're living as a son in a way that this is still your family and you can
Alumni.
always return.
Yeah, doesn't that affect his scholarship? Or anyway, that's information you don't have. Franklin, are you done with City Oilers?
No, pretty much that is it. Now that Titus is returning, obviously he's not going to be able to play on hard courts. I don't think he's yet fit to play on hard courts. I'm talking YMCA and UCU and all that, but I think can play indoor games right now, Titus. So when you have Kaira in who is seasoned across who has, fresh legs and all that, I think that in a way improves Star Oilers. And of course they brought in some young guard from KIU, Daniel Dokonyero, good shooter of the basketball. He's a good point guard as well, who will fit right into their system. Again, bringing in Joel Barnes, of course, takes the burden off Fahed Bale, who basically showed that everything you're creating, you have to score and everything. I think bringing in Banza, who was the MVP last season, and he's a competitive guy at Namongo Blazers, yes. Yeah. And bring him in, he's a
competitive guy. How did that happen? How
can
Namongo Blazers let the season MVP move to another team?
Akusinga center could be a go kute. Yeah, but I think he was reportedly offered a better deal by Star Oilers. So that is not surprising. Of course, they had attempted to sign him last year, but I think the deal fell through, and then he played at Nam Blazers. Wow. So Star Oilers is going to be a little bit.
That's one of the things I said, that I don't know whether people who compete with teams who compete against City Oilers, can you sustain that challenge, or you challenge me for 1 or 2 seasons and move on. But before Franklin answers that, JKL, Axi moving to Morocco, and a couple of other people departing. Kyle, do you think they can be able to challenge for their title this year?
Yeah, I think there's
an opportunity for your Jetty.
I'm UCU all and all. No, but I think for a team that has won, they always do a few things better than others. They might not be the same, but they always have that experience that can help them go through different challenges. And while I had the club president speak somewhere, he made it clear that there are going to be a few players that will leave because they feel like they want to evolve. They feel like the plan they had hit the roof, and so they want to go back and rebuild something again. So I think they will be starting again, having a few younger players coming on board, but also I think doing some things with not the same pressure that they had in the previous campaigns. And I think that might allow more senior players to leave. But also, if you've lost arguably the best player in the league, you feel there are things that are going to change. Because Axi would do some things and you think, okay, I think even the coach is not the one who was maybe ordered, or this was not something that they created, but this is all about the player's brilliance, which I think is not something you replace. Because, for example, if Kaira leaves UCU, you're not going to get a certain person because they have the same height and you expect them to do the same things that Kaira was doing. So there are always those exceptional players, and you want to put Axi in that category. So I think we are going to have a few changes, but it is good for the whole league. Yeah. When you have other teams coming and believing that they can take the trophy, you have more competition. And for the girls' side, that has been the case. You always have around 4 teams. And when you look at the other side, there's also a certain Magic Stormers that is having some signings that are decent. And if they still have their coach, you expect them to always make it hard for the top sides. Then also, UCU are cooking. And for them, every year, they always have a surprise package. Now that I've learned that they have the lady that came from Miracles, I
Mariam
forget the name.
Mankwala.
Yes, Mariam. Mariam came from St. Mary's Chitende. And for those that watched her at Chitende, they can tell you that she was a good handler of the ball, but also a good shooter. And not just a good shooter, but someone who knows how to turn up. So she has been already at a competitive school, and so she knows what it means to be at a side that wants to win. And for UCU not winning last year gives them an assignment that we are not used to being in such situations of not winning. So this year should be a year where we go into the campaign knowing that we have to do some things better. And for me, I think for some of the ladies that showed bits of brilliance, this year is their year to take up the mantle.
Yeah, what is
You see, I think Edwin has been a little bit cautious in talking about JKO. But the fact of the matter is that team is going to struggle because, of course, Axie is listed on their team as a player. Maybe when she's on hold off season in Morocco, she can come and play. But I'm not sure about that. She's still listed on their team. Obviously, Jenna Sinde is still listed on their team. But as far as I know, Jenna Sinde is not comfortable with that. But again, when you lose your three best players, I thought Longom was one of the best players. That changed the finals. I think her coming back in the finals changed a lot with how JKO played, and the presence that she put in the paint gave JT Jaguars a big problem. And when you lose Evelyn Achiyinji, who is probably the best point guard in the country at this point in time, because it is either between her or you see you girl. But when you lose three of your best players, I mean the players who basically led you to that glory, I mean that is a very big loss to make. And when you know you're not certain of whether you're not certain of whether Flavio Kecho is going to be around full time. Of course, Iman, Ekon, who works in Bali, you're not sure of their viability throughout the season. You look at a season that is going to be a little bit tough for JKO.
Losing Akamada as well.
And Agatha Kamada, who was a squad player, okay, small forward, but yeah.
Pretty much good defensively.
What do you guys make of that coaching duo at KCCA? Tony Dreleba and Benjamin Komakech. I don't know where KCCA is getting a lot of money. They are spending, especially they have signed Bagala in netball, but sticking with the basketball. What do you make? Should we expect something? We've seen how Sudulang has done so well with the JT Jaguars team.
I think one of the things that Tony and Koma have is that they have an old school mentality. By old school, I mean coaches or players that believe in
work hard.
Learning the basketball the best way from the fundamentals of the game. They want things to be done the right way, and the result will fall in place automatically. So one of the things that you really want to see is that you think KCCA is going to play better team basketball because these are guys who are built on foundations of team basketball. Koma talk Tony as well, and these are the things that they are going to be trying to transfer to the girls. You're going to see probably girls who understand the game better, and because coaches who are going to react better to situations. Of course, there were incidents of when KCA were not in control of the game. Of course, they were just running all over the place. You know what? Tekayo, we know Pelus Nyamwenge is going to run, get the ball there. We know Trace Namgosa is going to run, get the ball there. We know once in a while, of course, Bagala is going to get in the open court and all that. But you were going to see, I think, some sort of structured basketball with how KCCA plays. And hopefully that makes now the women's game a little bit more interesting. Now there will be 4 teams. You're talking JT, you're talking KCCA, you're talking, obviously, you want to, of course, people want to slide in Pearl Queens.
I'm waiting.
Of course, you want to slide in Pearl Queens
for you,
as
don't
well.
want.
I said you. I'm distancing myself. So I think of course when a team is given that many Friday slots, 5 Friday slots, it means it's a team that probably can compete and all that.
But it
But
can
we're
also
waiting
be
to
a
see.
setup.
But
Yeah.
it can also be a setup.
So
Yeah.
does that in essence mean that Tony stops playing for Blazers and Ben
No.
stops coaching?
Still
Because
with
he's
us.
been a co-coach at City Oilers.
No.
And he also had some game time as well.
Yeah, the reason why Coma had game time last season is because
stretched.
they were short-handed,
Yeah.
and so the man had to come out of retirement to play. He got technically retired.
So it means
But-
you coach in the evening and then play later in the night.
Yeah,
Aish.
yeah, but no. But of course, the coaching days are different from the playing days. I mean, like Steelers, they train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If they are playing on Friday, of course, they are not training on Friday. They are training on Wednesday, and that is it. And obviously, for Tony who plays, of course, the training days for non-Blazers have to be different from the training days of KCCA. All the time has to be different. That you either first coach KCCA and then go.
Proper definition of how to
the-
survive in Kampala. You need
Yep.
10 jobs.
Yep.
Okay, quickly. Favorites in the men's, just mentioning names.
Favorite mains or
Franklin first.
Steelers.
City Oilers.
Yep.
Okay, Kyle.
City Oilers.
Hey, Blazers, you guys. You're not loyal at all. You've already moved on.
Right, not
Women?
exactly. You're betting on women. You see Lady Cannons.
I wonder Kyle. He will say the same thing.
No,
but why should we not mention?
But give me a
but
chance
we
to
should
be on
mentioning-
record.
We should be mentioning too.
Okay.
So
For the
women,
men too.
JT and UCU,
Mhm.
and then for the men, of course, it's still Blazers and
City Oilers.
still Oilers.
Kyle.
Dak. For me, for the ladies, I'm going to go KCC and no, UCU, KCC.
Okay.
Then for the men, obviously, City Oilers, Namongo.
And Namongo Blazers. Yeah.
But for the ladies, I'm just interested to see how that JT side is going to look like. And for the men, I'm interested to see how Summit is going to look like.
Okay. Summit very, very challenging. Last year they pushed
And
City
they
Oilers
have
in the
made some
semis.
serious signings.
So maybe.
And also that young kid, Galiwango, one of my favorite.
Yeah, watch out for Summit and Pearl Queens. None of you has mentioned.
Pearl Queens.
See,
I will just go to watch Agatha. She's always smart and what. We are waiting to see the game because
then
for
the
for
thing
the
they-
game it might be a bit different, and that's why I said when Frank pointed out that they have many games on Friday, it could easily be a setup if things don't go well because they are challenging you on a day when
All eyes are
when
pretty
all
much-
eyes are on you, the TV, the cameras are there, the people are many. So for a new side, that is some pressure, and already they've started feeling the pressure.
Okay. The basketball season tipping off this weekend. And as always, like I mentioned, make sure you keep it Kawowo Sports for all the updates from the basketball. Just to wind up this conversation, we'll talk about KCCA blowing hot and cold. One weekend we are winning 4-0. Next weekend we are losing 1-0 to UPPC. That coaching combination, is it working, Kyle?
Yeah,
Co-coaches.
it's early days to judge them, and for me, if I'm to give them marks, I think it could be like a 6 out of 10. Like it's just 15 games into the campaign. However much they came into a time when KCC are hungry to win trophies, to get back to getting medals and all that. So sometimes KCC have now even lost their confidence and pride. Akakajanja of saying we have a style of play. All they want is just to win games. So that's how desperate the side is. And that can sometimes be a challenge for coaches because now you're wondering what should be my priority. Should we have a playing style? Should we just do things the Bossa way of squeezing results out of players? So sometimes it gets a bit challenging for the co-coaches, and that's why I think it's going to be a challenge for the two. But just to get on the other side of UPPC, I think UPPC have found themselves in a good place. That they started the league when no one was giving them attention, so they had to do their mistakes without people literally having a lot of eyes on them. But when you look at how UPPC and police are doing a few things right, sometimes it comes back to you asking yourselves questions when it comes to these bigger sides. how are their coaching sides set up. When you look at UPPC, they have a coach in charge of defenders, they have a coach in charge of midfielders, they have a coach in charge of strikers, and then they have, of course, a goalkeeping coach, and then they have the two who are Mbabazi and Abdallah on top. But they have a Bayano, they have a Walusimbi, I forget the other two. So when they are at the training ground, before they come into this whole setup of now this is how we are going to play, there is time to improve players. And that's why when you look at the Issa Bugembe of Vipers and you look at the Issa Bugembe of UPPC, the two players are very different.
Despite this one being heavier.
Yeah, they are two different. When you look at Odong of Bright Stars, the right back, and the Odong of UPPC, or the Issa Mubiru of KCC that was chased without playing several games, these guys are not just coaching football to win games. They are coaching football to help these players improve. And that's why all of a sudden, you see Rogers Omedwa, who didn't get time at URA, now put up as the best goalkeeper in the first round. And that's what, yes, that's why sometimes we ask ourselves, these coaches, or our local coaches that we make noise for, can they literally get a team and help it have their identity? For example, if you're talking about Waswabosa, do you literally see Chitara and you're able to see the hand of Waswabosa? If you're talking about KCC, Yoko coaches, can we see the hand of Senyondo, or we see 11 players chasing the ball? For me, I think that is what UPPC have done rightly, better than other teams in that league. And if they are given that working environment, an environment where you allow the coach to suggest players that can come in and make the team better, suggest players that can leave and all that, that team is going to make wonders.
Yeah, curious case of even I've just seen him. They've shown the image. Poloto is not even getting that as injured as much as he used to get injured in Lugogo.
That could be about the playing surface.
But also some vengeance there for Abdallah Mobilu. I wanted to say the curious case of Abdallah Mobilu is sort of, I don't know whether he thrives with the smaller teams. When he was in charge of police, they were one of the most exciting teams to watch in the league. And now he's doing wonders at UPPC. Of course, Matiale as well doing well with our neighbors, police. Recently lost his father, unfortunately. But police challenging the top teams. I think for KCCA, the pressure for them is that Vipers are not dropping any points. Yeah. So the more when you
Vipers are about to drop.
Okay, maybe let's assume so.
Let me put it this way. I think one of the things that have I think gone wrong with KCCA is that over the past few years, by the way, is that back then when Mutai was in charge, even when matches were tough, they had match winners. Somebody could step off the bench, or somebody could have a moment of magic and deliver a result. You look at this KCCA side and you want that one goal, and you kind of scan where it is going to come from, and you really don't see it. When you have your national team striker in Ivan coming off, and then you're bringing in a young lad to replace him. I mean, for me, that is kind of an admission that Chigani. I don't think you're going to rely on young players to deliver you big results. You find that actually the games that KCCA has dropped points in are against teams that are actually decent enough. And the only other result that they got against a fair, decent team was, I think, against Bull. Of course, they beat when Bull was still having their troubles. And, of course, we don't want to we cannot dismiss the win over Villa. But, again, at the time, they got that win from where it was the old format.
In fact, it is the day Villa returned after a lot of coverage.
And all that. So, for me, I think KCCA's lack of match winners, I think they're a bit comfortable with.
You're looking for a contribution from all over the park.
I mean, Shafiq Nana quickly will give you a good game, and then takes like 3 more games without doing anything that is really, really productive. when was the last time you saw a goal from Derek Nsibambi, who probably the target man? Again, Ivan Ahimbisu, I think, scored earlier on to cement his place in the team. But once that he kind of got, I think, comfortable. There is pressure or whatever it is.
The coaches are also overthinkering.
So many problems.
Yeah, so many problems. I think, like Kyle mentioned, they are sort of trying to make sure they just get the result, and then who give me the result is what you're going with, rather than having a plan and you're sort of loyal to that plan until it can get you something. Absolutely. But we'll have a wider conversation on the Uganda Premier League after all. For now, it has sort of reached its halfway stage as we discuss how the teams have fared, and we'll look at our predictions as well at the beginning of the season, because we first run out of time.
Before maybe you let us go for a meal, there are two cases that are happening behind the curtains, and FUFA are still yet to make any comment. One, there is a game, I think it was the opening game, Chitara against KCC. No, Chitara KCC, the game that happened. No, the game that happened in Hoima, the game that didn't have very many fans. While we were still in the Kawowo of the new format. Chitara used a player that was not on the lineup, the player that had not yet gotten a license. That is Patrick Kadu. And now, the same Chitara are in a mix with the Vipers, because Vipers didn't honor a fixture. Now, FUFA has to make a case.
A decision.
A decision. Now, I was wondering why the case of Chitara and Vipers was not like coming out of the boardroom. But now the thing is, if you give KCC points, we wonder where the match coordinator, who is from FUFA, where that match coordinator was, to allow a player who is not on a lineup get into the pitch. Or both sides, KCC and Chitara, how do you allow a player that is not licensed to get onto the pitch? Because you always have that pre-match meeting to agree on the players, the colors you're going to put on and all that. On the other side of the coin, Chitara went into the pitch where on the day they had to play Vipers, and the referee gave them goals and points. But those points and goals have never come onto the board. So Vipers think or have asked FUFA to reorganize another game, of which Chitara are not in agreement with. So those two cases can literally change that whole table. Because if the case goes in favor of Chitara, they are given 3 points, but also Vipers might end up being deducted 3. So
for fighting.
Yes. And on the other side, if the case goes in favor of KCC are getting 2 more points because they got a point for the draw. So they'll be getting now 2 more to make them 3. And then Chitara might also be punished
and
for using a player.
Probably an illegal player.
So, Fabanyumirwa Emisango, we are waiting.
Yeah, big decisions have to be made there in the boardroom, and that could affect the complexion of the league. I hope it's done sooner rather
just
than
like
later.
that, UPPC.
You could do it so late in the season, and it completely affects someone's title hopes. But that has been our conversation this week on the Weekly Wars. I've been your weekly host, Dennis Musali. I had the pleasure of having Joseph Man Muhumza, a resident rugby expert, to give us all the details about the upcoming rugby season. Our editor, Kawowo Sports, Franklin Kawero, and the man from Morocco, Edwin Kaukule, our resident football expert. And until next week, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports, and see you then.